Before we look too far into the future and start discussing in detail the Buffalo Bills 2019 NFL season, we all want to take a moment to celebrate the National Football League's past. Welcome to Billievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to a special edition of Billievers Talk, where we are going to talk about the Hall of Fame inductees being inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2019. Again, before we look too far into the future, we have to remember and celebrate the past. I think all NFL fans should do this. Before we do that, however, I want to remind everyone that if you haven't already logged your entries to win this Andre Reed signed mini helmet. You want to talk about Hall of Famers? Let's talk about one of the best Buffalo Bills to ever do it. That's Andre Reed signed mini helmet. Guys, we're giving this away. www.BOWLEN and Billievers Talk are teaming together to give you the best 2019 coverage that we can for our Buffalo Bills. To celebrate this, we are giving away this Andre Reed mini helmet. All you have to do is go to www.BOWLEN and log all your entries. Multiple ways to enter. You can subscribe to this channel. If you haven't subscribed to Billievers Talk, guys, lots of fun stuff coming up in 2019. You want to be a part of that. You can subscribe to his mailing list. Go to his website, www.BOWLEN and be a member of the Stampede family. Also, follow us on Twitter. Both of us on Twitter, BOWLEN and Billievers Talk. Follow us on Twitter, and then we tweet out every day. You retweet that, log that entry. That's a new entry every day. And to people who are already subscribed, people who are already on the mailing list, you can still enter to win this too. Just go back to that website, log your entries, and then you will be entered to win this great prize. But what we want to talk about today are those Hall of Famers. Welcome to the 2019 Hall of Fame class. Saturday, tomorrow, is going to be the induction ceremony, and we're going to go over the names that you're going to hear tomorrow. Some of you heard yesterday during the Hall of Fame meetings. And guys, I want to tell you, I feel like the NFL, this is the one thing they do right? We talk about the Pro Bowl and how we feel like the NFL, that's the worst one of the four major sports to do their All-Star game. Well, I feel like they're the ones that get it the most right when it comes to how to celebrate these Hall of Famers. You're talking about having a full weekend where you have your first game of that season during Hall of Fame weekend. You have a ceremony for these guys. And I know that all the other ones have a ceremony too, but you talk about baseball. Baseball ceremony happens while baseball games are going on, right? I mean, you can't really concentrate on the Hall of Fame ceremony when you have your team playing in a game, something like that. You know, the NBA is after the season, I believe, or midway through summer, and there's just different ways that leagues do it, and I think the NFL just does it right. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think the NFL does this the right way? I look forward to watching it every Saturday. Don't know if I look forward to the Hall of Fame game as much as I do the Hall of Fame ceremony. And we're going to get into these Hall of Famers and talk about some of the things they did in their illustrious career. First, we're going to talk about Champ Bailey. Champ Bailey was a cornerback for both the Washington Redskins and the Denver Broncos. His career was from 1999 to 2013, talking about 15 seasons, 215 games. He was a first-round draft pick by the Washington Redskins in 1999, 7th overall. And in his career, you're talking about a guy who had 12 Pro Bowl appearances, a guy who was named first-team All-Pro 4 times, a guy who was named second-team All-Pro 4 times. He amassed 52 interceptions in his career for 464 yards and four of those for a touchdown. He had 203 pass deflections. Guys, this guy knew how to lock down a wide receiver, right? You talk about in today's NFL how these wide receivers, are able to get open, how all these, it's easy to get open, it's easy to get penalties called against you. Guys, this guy played back in 2013. Not too different than today. Obviously, there are some rule changes, but he wasn't penalized all that much. He was just a lockdown corner, absolutely deserving of the Hall of Fame. Then you go up to the next guy, and you talk about Pat Bowlen. Pat Bowlen is the owner of the Denver Broncos. He's been the owner of the Denver Broncos since 1984. Not a bad tenure for an owner. Obviously, we remember our owner, Ralph Wilson, the guy who was really the founder of the Buffalo Bills. This guy has been around for quite some time. He was there for the John Elway days. Obviously, he was there for the Peyton Manning days. Has a few Super Bowl rings to his name. And the most impressive stat to me when it comes to talking about Pat Bowlen is that the Denver Broncos, under his tenure, are the only team that for the past 3 decades, talking 1990, 1999, 2000 to 2009, 2010 to 2019, the only team in the NFL to have 90 or more wins during those 3 decades. So to me, that's pretty impressive. That's something that should be celebrated. So congratulations to Pat Bowlen now being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Next down the list, we're going to have Gil Brandt. Gil Brandt was a member of the Dallas Cowboys from 1960 to 1988. He was the vice president of personnel for them for those 28 years. And again, 28 years, you're talking about a long career in the NFL. He helped Dallas to 13 division titles, and you talk about from 1960 to 1988, obviously not the Bills years when they beat the Bills in the Super Bowl, but Dallas has been a good team for a long time. You can argue about current history if you want to, but Dallas has always been around. That's why they got the nickname, deservedly or not, America's team, because you talk about a team that's just always in the spotlight, always playing that Thanksgiving game, a lot of primetime games every single year, just always in the spotlight, deservedly or not. But this guy was a reason why that happens, right? Why that still happens today, as he was a member of the Dallas Cowboys from 1960 to 1988, and even today, from 1995 to present, he's been a contributor in the NFL. He was a regular radio personality on Sirius FM radio. He serves as resident historian for NFL.com. So he continues to have his fingerprint on the NFL, and no better way to be honored for that than in the Hall of Fame. Next is probably my favorite Hall of Famer going in this class. Guys, let me know in the comment section, who is your favorite Hall of Famer going into the 2019 class? My favorite going in this year, Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez was drafted in 1997 by the Kansas City Chiefs, 13th overall in the first round. Kansas City, he was a member of the Kansas City Chiefs from 1997 to 2008, and then member of the Atlanta Falcons from 2009 to 2013. And guys, one thing I like about Tony Gonzalez, I hope everyone can still appreciate about Tony Gonzalez. Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates were pretty much the only 2 tight ends doing this before being a good tight end was the trendy thing to have on your team. Before there was a Travis Kelce, before there was a Rob Gronkowski, before there were these household names, Tony Gonzalez was the household name at tight end. Antonio Gates, they were going back and forth as far as who the best tight end was in the league every single year, and it was only them. Only them, because Tony Gonzalez held records in the NFL. Some still hold today. Obviously, with the big passing numbers in today's game, some of those have been surpassed. But you're talking about a guy who just was always consistent, right? Always going to be able to give you 100 or more yards a game. He finished his career with 1,325 receptions for 15,127 yards and 111 TDs. I think he still holds the record for most TDs by a tight end. He had 211 straight games with a catch. For a tight end, that is unheard of. You can talk about Jerry Rice's catches record, but you're talking about 211 straight games for a tight end. It's hard for a tight end to play in 211 straight games, and he had a catch in 211 straight games, and that is the longest streak by a tight end, second longest in NFL history behind Jerry Rice. So you're talking about a guy who was named to the first team All-Pro 7 times, 14 Pro Bowls, absolutely deserved of this Hall of Fame spot. So I look forward to seeing him get inducted on Saturday. Guys, remember, Hall of Fame induction tomorrow, Saturday. I think it starts at 7 p.m. So make sure that you're watching if you can, because you always hear about these great speeches. You always get to see a lot of these Hall of Famers, not just the guys being inducted this year. You're talking about all the Hall of Famers coming together. They have dinner together tonight. They just get to be part of this club, right? This family that no one else gets to be a part of. You get to put on those gold jackets and say your piece one last time. I look forward to seeing a bunch of these guys, none more than Tony Gonzalez. And then you go to Ty Law. Again, we said that 3 defensive backs are going in this year's Hall of Fame. That's the most for defensive backs in any year for the Hall of Fame. Second on this list, second of those 3 is Ty Law, cornerback from 1995 to 2009, playing 15 seasons. Obviously, if you're a Bills fan, you remember Tyler mostly for his time with the New England Patriots, but he also spent time with the Jets, Chiefs, and Broncos. So you do want to remember all those years. 15 years, 203 games. He was the 23rd overall pick in the 1995 NFL draft. You're talking about a guy who in his career had 53 interceptions for 828 yards and 7 touchdowns. This guy just knows where to be on the field at all times. If you're a Bills fan, if you're a fan of the AFC East, you just knew that Ty Law was going to lock down your best receiver most of the time, right? You just knew that you weren't going to throw a lot of balls his way. And if you were, again, you're talking about 53 career interceptions, you knew that there was a likelihood or a good chance that they were going to get picked off. You know, you're talking about a guy who played in 200 games. That means 1 in every 4 games he had an interception. That's pretty incredible. Again, well worthy of the Hall of Fame. Next on the list is Kevin Mawae, center. Played a lot of his time with the New York Jets. Started his career with the Seattle Seahawks from 1994 to 1997, 1998 to 2005 with the Jets, and then 2006 to 2009 with the Tennessee Titans. Played in 16 seasons, which for a center is unheard of. You know, as Bills fans, we know what happened to Eric Wood. We know about his forced early retirement. Wish him obviously the best, but it goes to speak to how hard it is to play any position in the NFL for some amount of time, but especially that center position when you're always looking back behind you. Your neck is always, you know, possibly getting hit by a defensive lineman at the snap of a ball, and you're always getting hit every single play. And you're talking about a guy who played 16 straight seasons, 241 games. The most incredible stat I can tell you about Kevin Mawae, right, is out of his 16 seasons. So he played 16 seasons. In 13 of those seasons, the guy behind him at running back ran for over 1,000 yards, right? You're talking about Curtis, my favorite, Martin. You're talking about Travis Henry. You're talking about Lindell White, Chris Johnson, Chris Warren. So, yeah, you look at Chris Johnson and you look at Curtis Martin, you say, well, yeah, I mean, they're Hall of Famers too, so obviously they're going to rush for over 1,000 yards. But Lindell White, Travis Henry, he was a Buffalo Bill for a while. Not exactly going to be in the Hall of Fame. Good running back, but not exactly a Hall of Fame running back. So you're talking 13 out of 16 years, he had a 1,000-yard running back behind him. So you knew that if Mawae was going to be your center, pick up that running back behind him because you knew he was going to do well in fantasy. So Kevin Mawae, well-deserving of welcoming him into the Hall of Fame. Next on this list, the last of the defensive backs, and probably best for last, if you ask me, in my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Out of the 3 defensive backs, which one do you think is the best? This one, Ed Reed, safety, most of his years, of course, with the Baltimore Ravens. He did spend time with the Houston Texans and the New York Jets, but from 2002 to 2012, he was a safety for the Baltimore Ravens, and you could not get a ball past him. He played in 12 seasons, 174 games, and he registered 140 pass defenses, returned 30 punts even, so he was a punt returner as well as a great safety. And you know, his numbers speak for himself. For those of you who are fans of the NFL from 2000 to today, you know when you had Ed Reed back there as safety, you weren't sure if you wanted to even throw the ball all that game. And as Bills fans, we saw Ed Reed last year. He came on as a safety coach for us. I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago. Was our coach at safety for our safety position. So again, now he's into coaching, so he's going to keep his fingerprint on the NFL. So also well deserving of this Hall of Fame nod. Next on this list and last on this list is Johnny Robinson. So he's actually the 4th defensive back. I'm losing track of them all. He played safety, 6'1", 205 pounds from Louisiana State, played from 1960 to 1971 with the Dallas Texans / Kansas City Chiefs. So again, you see a lot of Chiefs references in here. In fact, some people would say, oh, they should have Denver versus Kansas City in the Hall of Fame game. It definitely would have been the most representative of the Hall of Fame game, but I don't think the NFL wants to have a division rivalry in the Hall of Fame game for a preseason game. In fact, I don't think they'll have a division rivalry in any preseason game. But if you look at this list of Hall of Famers, you see a lot of Denver, you see a lot of Kansas City. There are only 2 references that I saw to the NFC at all. And that's Atlanta Falcons with Tony Gonzalez and then Gil Brandt with the Dallas Cowboys, right? Other than that, very little, if any, NFC teams represented here in this Hall of Fame. So Johnny Robinson was a safety, like I said, for the Dallas Texans. Kansas City Chiefs, played 12 seasons for 164 games, selected in the 1960 AFL draft by the Texans. So, talking about a guy who played in both the AFL and the NFL. He had 10 interceptions in 1966, led the AFL there. So you're talking about a guy who throughout his career had 57 interceptions for 741 yards and a touchdown. He also was a running back, right? How often do you hear about that? Well, remember back then, they played both ways a lot of times. So ran for 658 yards and 6 touchdowns, had 77 catches for 1,228 yards and 9 touchdowns. So this guy kind of did it all because he also returned punts, 21 punts for 272 yards and a touchdown. So that guy did it all back in the day, back in the old AFL, coming into the NFL. Definitely deserving of a Hall of Fame. Going to be fun to see him kind of, again, honoring our past. So again, guys, the Hall of Fame ceremony tomorrow night, Saturday night, starting, I believe, at 7 o'clock. So make sure you tune in to honor the past of the NFL and look forward to that 2019 NFL season. I will also cover day 8 of Buffalo Bills training camp because we know tonight is the evening practice. They're going to be at New Era Field. So guys, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already hit it, because not only are we doing Buffalo Bills news, we will celebrate the past. We will bring up big NFL news when it happens. As the 2019 season approaches, you want to be here at Believers Talk. So hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment. Who do you like most in this class of Hall of Famers? And also, who is the best defensive back out of the four that I listed going into the Hall of Fame tomorrow night? I look forward to watching it. I hope you look forward to watching it too. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.